Hey, everybody, grab your goat, grab your harp, grab your blues guitar, because this week the Witches Movie Coven is taking you down the blues highway right to the Crossroads. Yes, the 1986 film Crossroads with the one and only Ralph Macchio. I was so surprised by this movie, I must say. I'm not going to talk about it yet. But let me introduce everybody. I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. This is Black Phillip. We have, of course, the beautiful and wonderful and magical Heather Greene back here from the throes of death and COVID. But she's with us again. And her Black Phillip even has his own guitar case. That is awesome.
Wow.
Okay, Heather, introduce yourself. We'll just go around in a circle.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Heather Greene. I'm an author and a book editor and a journalist. And my book, Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, is a journey into witches and witchcraft in American film history. I guess that's it. That's who I am. And I'm so happy to be back here after COVID. A week and a half of fun and joy trying to fight through that. So yay, I'm back with my Coven family here to talk movies.
And we missed you terribly, all of us. All right, Richard-Lael.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I am a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year and stole many a man's soul and faith. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name. My first name is Richard-Lael. If I were just Richard, I would be. And I am a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. So now I'm a nice medium. But I will tell you the truth is that unlike most psychics who are all love and light or all doom and gloom, I'm a happy medium. And
where is the drums, Jason?
I know.
I'm gonna bring one down from upstairs or out from the garage.
So yes, I am known as the gentleman psychic. I'm here in New Orleans, and at least for now, until the spirits move me, I always like to say I go where I'm not needed. So I'm here in New Orleans. You can find me here.
Thank you very much. Jason Mankey.
I don't know. That was such a great introduction. I just want to leave. I mean, that was a mic drop introduction. I mean, that was the best in the history of the show. It's going to be its own clip. But I'm Jason Mankey. I've written a bunch of books. I've written 9 books for Llewellyn so far in my life. This is probably my favorite one, The Horned God of the Witches. It seems appropriate to plug this one since we'll be talking about Scratch and the devil and things of that nature tonight. I'm a witch. I live in Silicon Valley. I'm in a lot of covens. This might be my favorite one.
Thank you very, very much. And I am proud to introduce not Courtney. We wish Courtney well. She's unable to join us today, but a dear friend, actually one of my favorite people on the planet, sitting in is, what is it? Oh, I thought it called you Don Williams. That just came. Don Williams. Matthew Surratt. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you so much, Patty, and thank you, everybody. It's so good to see everybody. I am a Salem witch. I just moved last year in a feat of a lot of Crossroads magic, thanks to Courtney Buckley and friends. And I am a psychic medium here in town. I do a lot of various things in various traditions. I think I have 6 or 7 altars from various East and West traditions. And I am excited about this film tonight. So I did about an hour's worth of homework in 20 minutes. Especially since my bachelor's is in music ed. So I'm very excited about this one.
Yay, that is good. Yes, I am Patti Negri, again, one of the hosts. You might know me from The Witching Hour or working with my boys, Zach and the guys on Ghost Adventures, or Paraflix, or my school, University Magicus, of which Richard-Lael is also one of our prized teachers. So other than that, Crossroads. I had never seen it before. Crossroads. Richard-Lael, for those who perhaps haven't seen it, do you have an unbiased explanation of the film?
I certainly do. So it chronicles the life of Britney Spears and baby. I'm just kidding. That's the other film by the same name. No, this is a story that took a moment for me to get into, but it is the story about a young man in New York who works in a nursing home, and he is certain that this fellow that is in this nursing home is the same person who worked with Robert Johnson, who of course is a blues legend. And speaking of which, at one point is said that he met the devil at the Crossroads and was able to play these great guitars that he was never able to play before. And so this blues man is hiding in this nursing home, and this kid, he studies, he's a savant, he studies classical music, and he goes in with the express purpose of working so that he could meet this person he's pretty certain is the blues legend. And the old man says to him, yeah, you got to get me out of here. If you get me out of here, I will give you the 30th song that Robert Johnson was given by the devil. I'll help you, but you got to get me out of here. So they go on this cross country tour via bus and then hitchhiking, where they meet a young woman who is also on her own journey, and they get down into Mississippi. They absolutely forego Georgia. The devil did not go down to Georgia this time. He went down to Mississippi, and instead of a fiddle made of gold, it was, of course, the guitar, where they end up at the Crossroads. They have come back. They've played so many gigs, and this kid, he thinks that he's already this blues legend. He thinks in his mind, and he gets a heap of medicine, where the old man says, you're not anything. You are nothing. You are not as good as what you think you are. You're not Robert Johnson. You are not. And so he loses the girl that he was they met along the way. He loses her, and the blues man says, every blues song begins with a relationship that was once. And then they've met the assistant of the devil. I think he's the assistant of the devil, who has changed his name from Legba to Scratch. And he says basically, well, I'm at the Crossroads now. I'm here to collect your soul. I'm here to collect. And the man says, well, I need it back. So the kid says, no, you could, if we win, you let him go. And if you lose, you can have my soul. So they end up by going to this blues club, where this heavy metal rock and roller is challenging this kid who is a classical music savant. And of course, the kid can play classical music on guitar that for some reason messes with the mind of the other fellow, and then white savior complex, and then the end, everyone is happy because white savior saved blues. The end. Roll credits. That's it.
Thank you. Now we have the movie in a nutshell. There's a lot of buses, there's a lot of guitars, there is a lot of music. Heather, is this movie in your book?
It is not. And why? Because it is not a witch movie. As it does have the mythology and the legend of Robert Johnson, and the classic magic of Crossroads, which I'm sure we can get into of what that means, and because that appears in a lot of cultures. It's not a witch film, so it was not in my book. So I'm going to put this in a little bit of context for everybody first, and give you some spicy things to think about, which I always do. And when I always say there's a lot to talk about with this film. Of course, in every film I can find a lot to talk about. So let me get started with the period of time we're in, which is what I like to do first. This is 1986, okay? Mid 1980s. Now, when we talk about the 80s, we talk about Satanic Panic. However, this is before Hollywood really caught on to the Satanic Panic was going. It started already in our culture and our society, but it wasn't until the late 90s the late 80s, excuse me, that Satanic Panic movies and themes really started to hit. Even though there's a devil in this one, it's not related to the Satanic Panic. And this film is more situated. This is the reason for this film. It fits into a different trends in Hollywood at the time, and that's not one of them. One of the trends is this is more or less a Ralph Macchio film. This was 2 years after the come on, guys. All of a sudden I went blank.
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. Thank you. My mind just went shoot blank. This is more or less a
I'm taking away your genetics card,
remake
Heather.
of that movie, I'm gonna say, but I will get into that. This is sort of like, instead of karate instead of karate, we have blues in place of it. It's a vehicle for Ralph Macchio. That's one trend. We also have the popularity of films that present young boys going on a journey. A learning journey. It's a male coming of age story, akin to a lot of stuff we see in witchcraft films with girls. This is the male version. A lot of that was happening in the early 80s, especially when you had elder gentlemen helping them out. So you have a lot of that going on in sword and sorcery films. Gremlins is another. You see this kind of story happening over and over in the early to mid 80s. And witchcraft and magic and the devil and all this stuff is sort of a secondary ancillary things that happen woven within those here and there. Whether it's sword and sorcery films and you have a wizard or some kind of evil witch, or you have the devil, they're not prominent. It's not the major part of it. And you can see in this story, the story is really downplays that aspect of it, which, I'll give my opinion of that later, because I have a lot of opinions on how this film played out. But you also have a trend during this period of time of films that have major white characters with black secondary characters, and you have that experience going on. This was sort of reactionary to the 70s, and I actually have some. I actually had to read. My go-to book on this topic is Donald Bogle. He's a phenomenal academic in film, and he talks a lot about the representation of Black figures, people of color, and Black culture in American film. And so I went to him and confirmed, and he had similar things to say. This was the trend then, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's for worse, sometimes it's for better. There's a double-edged sword with that. So it's another trend that this fits into as well. So there's a bunch of different trends. This is not a film that came out of the Satanic Panic. It's not a witchcraft film. However, we can always enjoy talking about magic and the Crossroads at any point. I'm sure everybody here has something to say about that. So that's the context. That's the academic stuff. And I will give more on that when I get to my time to give my very... for my opinion, let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Heather has thoughts.
Jason,
I always have thoughts, Jason.
So in a different life, I used to do a lot of music workshops, like Led Zeppelin and the occult, heavy metal and the occult. And when I did Led Zeppelin and the occult, I began with Robert Johnson. And I think that there's a reason this movie came out specifically in 1986. And why Robert Johnson was kind of in the zeitgeist at that moment. Mm-hmm. So in 1982, you have a book come out called Hammer of the Gods by a writer named Stephen Davis, who is a rock biographer. And it's a Led Zeppelin biography. But he opens it with the story of Robert Johnson selling his soul at the Crossroads. And then he suggests that Led Zeppelin sold their soul to the Crossroads, with the exception of their bass player, John Paul Jones. So this story is now percolating in the culture again, and it had been there sort of since the 1960s. The Robert Johnson myth is very fascinating to me, because during his own time, Robert Johnson was not a star. Robert Johnson, hopped on trains to get from show to show. He had one very, very minor hit called Terraplane Blues. He was not somebody that most people were familiar with, and he was not particularly famous. And when he died, there were people who were disappointed he died, obviously. But the world did not go, oh, I lament the loss of a genius, because most people didn't know who he was. Enter the 1960s in England, where there are a bunch of kids who love American blues. And record labels are putting out lots and lots of albums by American blues artists. And they go, oh, we have these recordings by this guy named Robert Johnson that we've been sitting on for a long time. We can put them out, and then we don't have to pay anybody any money. That would backfire later when his heirs would go, no, give me some cash. But so they put out this album called Robert Johnson, King of the Delta Blues. And what happened was people were like, oh, this guy must be king of the Delta blues singers, even though he really wasn't thought of that way in his time. However, he deserved to be thought of that way in his time. Robert Johnson was a musical genius, and if you go through his catalog, it's really terrific, but nobody really listened to it until the 1960s. The idea that he sold his soul at the Crossroads is also later. During the 1930s, it was thought that a different blues man by the name of Tommy Johnson had sold his soul, but by the 1960s, it was good for record sales to also hint that perhaps Robert had sold his soul to the devil. So there's a little extra context because I'm excited to talk about this all night. I have Robert Johnson lyrics up on my computer to talk about magical stuff. I'm ready. I've been ready for this all day.
Okay, go.
Well,
You're
no. I think Matthew needs to talk for a little while, though. I mean, we got to take turns. I need a breath after that soliloquy.
You know,
anyways.
I actually saw a lot of crossover with my sort of like my own magical experience. Has a lot of Crossroads magic in it. And it's very interesting because during my degree, we studied a lot of that era, and we would even have like specific whole entire units of just that era of music. And I found a lot of sort of like sort of interesting crossover between the themes of trauma, especially trauma of sort of like sort of disparaged people, and sort of especially in sort of colonized situations, and back when there was the post-slave trade and still coming out of Jim Crow and everything, and that whole sort of like blues era leading from I'll say like even even I think even the 20s, to be honest, even the 20s after Prohibition, you know, we were just getting out of the Industrial Revolution, and all of the kind of like wild change that was going on there. I do a lot of work, especially within my own like divination and magic and stuff like that, of like divining, okay, what is the truth of this situation, and what is the, you know, a lot of magic based off of need. And I saw a lot of the similar themes, especially you would get with the sort of the Crossroads magic, the magic based off of need, and those peculiar scenarios. So it was fun to watch for what I did get to see. It was fun to watch the hopping around, you know. And Richard-Lael, I know you and I can relate on that front quite a bit, in that sort of aspect. But it was very interesting to see how sort of the storylines and the sort of quote unquote sort of what they called magic, which has a lot of, like you said, you know, Jason and Heather, about the folkloric devil implications. That has nothing to do with the Christian devil. It was very interesting to see how they kind of worked with that adversarial energy and flowing in there. It very much reminded me of sort of for some random reason I got Robert Frost in my head halfway through. You know, the two roads diverged, you know, because I kept thinking, because I've, especially working in Salem, and there's like a lot of positive things and everybody works in their different vein, but I've seen you know, Hecate is very popular, right? The Crossroads magic, but you always see the three-way crossroads. And then I looked up at my Legba Veve right by my door, and I was like, there are not always three, right? And it was kind of sort of hitting me on that kind of aspect. So just seeing the sort of overall sort of fit of where needs-based magic, especially when you're in peculiar like scenarios where a lot of them didn't even necessarily call themselves witches, which is I'm sort of appreciative you pointed that out, Heather, as not being a witch film, because I know a lot of people that especially intermingled the Christian or Catholic beliefs within hoodoo and voodoo, would not always call themselves a witch, you know, and some of them would be sort of not so happy if people did at the same time. So overall, I think it was very interesting for what I saw, and I'm eager to see the last 20 minutes and not skim through it. So
Thank you, Richard-Lael.
I have a story about Old Scratch. So in this film, the devil changes his name from Legba to Scratch, and Scratch is, of course, another name for the devil. Now, way back, 1,000 years ago, when I was still a Christian and I was in church, and I was going to be an actor. I just knew it. Like I knew it, right? So in the Christmas play, it was the story about a bunch of street kids on Christmas Eve who have lost the spirit of Christmas. And then this angelic, sort of punky, plucky kid comes in, and the only name he gives is Scratch. And in the end, he has sort of made all of these kids understand the power and the meaning of Christmas. And they go, where did he go? He's gone. He's invisible. And Scratch was standing there in the midst of them the entire time. And I played Old Scratch. And I wonder who wrote that play and didn't know that Scratch was the devil? Who did that? But nonetheless, it kind of makes me laugh in my own mind because, I've been playing the devil for a very long time.
Over 100 years.
Oh, much longer than 100 years. Are you kidding? Hundreds.
Thank you.
And you must be very good to your body because it's the only one that you get. And now, a warning.
All right. I'm just going to jump in because the music. I had so much fun with the music. My husband, who's a drummer, he's a jazz drummer, but when we first met, he was all blues. I would go listen to him blues clubs. He gave up blues because there is no money in blues. There's money in jazz because you could do weddings and corporate events and anniversaries, but there's no money in blues. But the music was amazing. Does Ralph Macchio, did he really play?
Yes,
No.
he did.
No, he did not.
I
I read that he took guitar lessons so it would look like he was playing, but he never got good enough to really play most of it. Rob says he played a tick.
Yeah, he did. I read that he did. He was having lessons, and a lot of it he was playing, and then some of it was dubbed.
The same way that he took karate lessons.
Well,
Right.
I personally appreciated the fact that they actually included, and this is a nerdy moment for me, but actually included a nylon stringed guitar with the proper grip, and for the classical stuff, which I didn't expect would work so well with blues. But I enjoyed the moment where he was playing the Mozart, and he tagged it with the blues riffs at the end, and it almost for a second reminded me how kind of pretentious some of those environments could be, because we were always goofing around, as Patti says, swinging off the chandeliers in music school.
I like that Steve Vai plays a little Paganini during his runs.
Yes.
In the final contest, which is also interesting because Paganini was said to have sold his soul to the devil as well as Robert Johnson. So that was very, very clever, in my opinion, and a nice little wink if you know what you're listening to.
The devil's trills.
Allegedly, people said that Paganini was playing things, but his fingers weren't where they were supposed to be on the violin, and it must have been the fingers of the devil playing back.
And those who would see him in the theater said that in the back of the room was a very distinguished gentleman with a mustache and a goatee.
Richard-Lael?
Richard-Lael is now 550 years old, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard it here.
Oh, I'm much older than that, darling.
Coming.
Thank you for the flattery.
Well, and no wonder some of them would have thought that they made deals with the devil if they looked at the sheet music, especially. I know Paganini. I dated a violinist in college, and half the time I looked at the sheet music, nobody would have known if she would have been off in that kind of way. So, and I think it continues even to modern artists even now when it comes to the old school artists and the classical artists. You see it even in opera and in an old school symphony. It's very common theme.
Well, what I love about Robert Johnson, when you listen to the recordings, it was just him and his guitar in the studio. There's no overdubs. There's nobody else playing with him. But sometimes it sounds like there's a rhythm guitar in the background while he's playing lead guitar, and he's doing it all by himself on 6 strings, which lends itself to people thinking, oh yeah, he must have sold his soul to the devil in order to do that. And that's the genius of Robert Johnson. If you sit back and you really listen to it and you get into that guitar nerdiness, which apparently some of us are truly into. So I'm super happy to have Matthew here tonight.
Yeah, my main instrument is pipe organ. And with the 32 pedals and many different knobs, many keyboards, I had to have 3 people assisting me in one of my recitals in college. And there were many nights I was beating my head off the console thinking, you know what, maybe I should have sold my soul.
You know, I never actually played. I played the piano many, many years ago. I was never very good at it. I played the cornet like this, you know, so I was never very good. But, you know, I changed my mind. I've decided now that I will actually become a minister so that I can have a massive organ pumping behind me.
We need that drum.
There
We really need that
I
drum
think I have a
tonight.
snare in the back somewhere. We'll have to pull it out.
Richard-Lael, you come back into town, depending on the era, I've got you for 1886. I've got one on the wharf in storage.
Amazing. You know what? I actually have one right over here. I don't know if you can see it. I have one right here.
Yeah.
This was for a completely different film. This was actually on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Wow.
Wow.
So you
Fun.
know that one right there. But it
Mine-
doesn't work. It just looks pretty. Like me.
Mine still works, and I use it for seance, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, all of this music mixing with magic. This is a perfect night. I love it.
Music is magic. To me, it's the purest form of magic. That
Mhm.
truly, if anybody wants to see what magic is, do music.
Absolutely. And
I
that's
just
one of the reasons I did not like this movie.
okay. Tell us.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So here's my opinion. So we are a very musical family, and there's always music playing. And you know, we sing, we dance sometimes because I like to dance. My partner plays guitars. We've got tons of them, drums, everything. Or we're just listening to music all the time. And blues is one of those standbys. It's often just playing in the background when we're just doing other stuff. So we love it. It makes our lives magical. Like we're talking about, the magic of music is something that I can't even describe, that connection. Some of the first spells I did used music as the basis. I mean, without knowing anything else. But besides that, this getting away from, the brilliance of the real Robert Johnson, and getting away from, all of that and looking right at this film, I was very disappointed, because loving music, loving blues, loving the cultural power of blues and the origins of it and the historicity of it and all this stuff, this movie falls flat. This movie does not do any of that justice. And when I watched this movie, I was super excited. I was listening to, you can turn that light off all you want, Jason. I'm going to stand by my This is a Ralph Macchio vehicle that was more or less a carbon copy of the Karate Kid. They said, oh, Ralph Macchio was really popular. I have this young white kid who finds this old guy from a different culture and learns an art form from that culture, and then ends in a giant battle and wins. So what? And by the end of the movie, it really fell flat to me. It didn't capture anything about the blues. It didn't capture it didn't capture any. I have a whole story. If they could make this movie, I have the plot scenario that would make this movie powerful. I wanted an aha moment where I just loved the old guy. I wanted to be about his journey back to his heritage. I wanted to really sink down deep like an armchair into the blues and its history and the culture of it. This movie does none of that.
No,
and
simply
it is
seasoning.
purpose. It's so flat lines, and I just was like, okay, this is. They said, how can we do the Karate Kid over? What can we do? Okay, let's use Black culture instead of Japanese culture. Blues. Let's make him be a blues guitar player. Oh yeah, okay, he can learn that. It is. That's what this is. So there are moments that I enjoyed. There's moments. The moments that I enjoyed were Joe Seneca's character. What's
Willie Brown?
Willie Brown. Willie Brown has some really great comments. He has some really good lines in there, and there's some good interaction that come out of him. Other than that, I was like, I'm waiting for Ralph Macchio to do his his karate thing and where's Mr. Miyagi, and then I'm like, okay, this was and they didn't do I wanted there to be more emphasis and power and spiritual power of the devil aspect of this. Why did Willie well, we know why he made the pact, but why did he never get to the height? He said, I never got to that. Why? And why didn't the devil go after him all those years? Why was this man 80 years old and still walking around? The hellhounds hadn't gotten him after 4 years or 10 years or whatever the pact was. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that mysticism. I wanted more of the culture it came out of. I wanted that part. I didn't want the this is a white kid who is nice to black people, so he must be the good guy. There was so much surface level Hollywood garbage, and it was just like they just took the Karate Kid and put it on the Xerox machine, Xeroxed it and colored the karate with blues and drew in a little guitar. Okay, we got a new movie. Let's go.
I just remember that
There you go.
moment.
That's my take.
There was that moment where Willie
I'm turning
Brown
my light
came
off
in.
on you, Jason.
After Eugene hurts his slide guitar finger, Willie Brown walks in and he does this. And then he cures his finger just like Mr. Miyagi did in the Karate Kid. That's not true. But I agree with you. Yes, there's definitely some parallels between the Karate Kid, though this film was written before the Karate Kid came out, at least according to the Wikipedia article, though perhaps it was massaged to fill in and to be more like the Karate Kid. But it's 1986. It's a quick movie. It's very superficial, but it's fun. At least it goes to Mississippi. At least it doesn't pretend that you're going to find the blues in suburban New York or something, right? I mean, it could have been much, much worse than the things that you're criticizing.
Yeah,
it could have been worse, but
the whole picture. I must admit, I've never seen the Karate Kid. I have never seen the Karate Kid.
Oh yeah, if I could reach my light, I'd turn that off too.
Patty, I'll save you time. If you want to watch the Karate Kid, just think about this movie, and that's it.
Okay, but again, and yes, I love blues. I love music. Ralph Macchio. Again, I thought this movie had enough weird differences to it. Maybe there's formulaic stuff, and maybe it was like Karate Kid, of which I didn't see. But I got to appreciate their relationships enough. And I'm a witch. I work Crossroads. I do. Not that they pushed on the magic beyond a little mojo back, but of course he wanted his money back. He didn't get famous, so he wants his money back. That makes sense to me. I think you're being harsh.
Oh,
that's fine.
I'm with Heather, and I think that Willie Howard did try to join the 27 Club, and he did. He joined the 27 Club. Whatever that, however, what is that? 20, 40, 60, whatever. He reached it several times over. I also didn't like it. I thought it was very superficial. I thought that what I did enjoy the flashback scene of the supposed devil at the Crossroads from Robert Johnson. I thought, and he says, Robert Johnson says, well, I got nothing but $3. Oh, your money's not going to do anything around here. Just sign here. Oh, and those $3, I need some gas. I thought that was quite good. And then when the same character comes in with his lady friend in a more modern car, in a more modern setting, and hey, you want to ride? No, we're not talking to you or your slur. We're not talking to you. We want Legba. And then, of course, he appears and he's dressed as he would have dressed in the 20s, which is, I did like that. But overall, I didn't like that the older gentleman, Willie Howard. I didn't like the fact that he couldn't walk. He couldn't walk. Oh, now I can walk. It was sort of like, I get it. Ha ha, funny. He's got his Cadillac, which is his wheelchair. But I overall I didn't like the white savior. I didn't like it, and I'm glad that he was replaced in Back to the Future.
Mhm. I as somebody who loves blues music and finds all that mythology fascinating in the history of hoodoo and conjure, the fact that they even name check the Crossroads is amazing to me, and the fact that they don't use the word the devil is pretty cool to me. Now, it would not have been Legba at the Crossroads, but most people think that when people did go to the Crossroads, and they did go to the Crossroads for things. I have quotes right here, like, these were taken in the mid 20th century, people talking about it. One informant said, you go out there to the forks of the road. Oh, this is my favorite one. If you want to learn how to make songs yourself, you take your guitar and you go to where the road crosses that way, where a crossroads is. Get there. Be sure to get there just a little before 12 that night so you'll be there. You'll have your guitar and you want to play a little piece there by yourself. A big black man will walk up there and take your guitar and he'll tune it. And then he'll play a piece and hand it back to you. That's the way I learned to play anything I want. And there are hundreds of these stories. And they never say the devil. It's always very clear. They always say the big black man, the black dog. Sometimes it's an animal. And most scholars think that it goes right back to Africa with particular deities, Egba, Pombagira, Exu, Ishu. These were all deities of the Crossroads, and these were all deities who opened the way and teach wisdom to people. And, that they might have not been actually saying, I'm going to go talk to Pombagira, but that memory is there, right? About how to do these magical things. And this movie doesn't really do it justice, but it name checks it just a little bit. And there aren't very many Hollywood movies that do those sort of things. So to me, it's always exciting when I get to watch this movie again, because it has these things that I love, these little pieces of folklore and myth that are so ingrained in rock and roll. There's a reason I have long hair. It's not that I play instruments well. It's just because I love the music so very, very much. And I'm not going to argue about the white savior things. I mean, yes, a guy named Eugene playing the blues is hilarious. And really, there's so many things that could be better. But I have to give this movie credit for at least trying to do some things that were a little bit different in 1986.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was different. Again, yes, everything everybody's saying is true, but it put enough of these different things together. If you're just want to watch a movie for a good time, not for the cultural significance of it or anything like that necessarily, I didn't fall asleep. It was good. I like it.
Jason, I will say I do agree with you there. Heather, I do agree with you. I would call it, when it comes to that backstory for what I did scrub through, I would call it seasoning for the movie, the magic aspect, or the Crossroads magic aspect and the flashbacks. But like, honestly, if there were similar movies that had more like folk magic, Crossroads magic in them, I would probably rather watch this film rather than watching it with those. I'd probably watch it with Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Holes, in that kind of genre. So I could see where you're kind of going on that kind of realm. I'm kind of like finding would one argue that this film is creating a crossroads of opinions where they're all technically correct, but also we can see them various ways? And I don't know, it strikes the inner Buddhist in me, ironically, to pull it back to the Karate Kid Asian sort of thing there.
Just to clarify, the movie has an entertainment value, and that's fine. I was not entertained by it because I would have enjoyed a different story. I'm not looking for my entertaining movies. Film school breaks you of the ability you can look at movies on different levels, and I always do. And this movie, for me, failed the entertainment level because I'm not saying I wanted an ethnographic study of the blues and stuff. That's a different movie. What I wanted was something that was going to move me. I wanted something that felt a story that was about the blues and Robert Johnson that brought me to the point of what it feels like when you actually listen to their music. This movie didn't, and I think it failed the story. And I think the opportunity was there. I think if it hadn't been a Ralph Macchio vehicle that was carbon copy of the other movie, they could have done it. And I have that storyline written. I know exactly how to fix it. And
this one was, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. All I was saying is that I'm not looking for an ethnographic study. I'm not looking for or that. Those are different movies and they exist. What I was looking for is this movie, a light movie that just was balanced differently and that actually gave you those moments. And the changes to this to make it that movie would be how long a cut was, how long they lingered, the interaction between the characters, the recasting of Ralph Macchio, because then it would have taken it out of the realm of it being him. And I don't hate him. I just didn't. He did nothing for me in this movie. And so the changes would have made the movie a Hollywood entertainment movie, but it would have given us the depth and the power. It would have felt like as powerful and moving as the music itself. And that was what bothered me so much. I'm like, because I love listening to the blues, and I have a partner that plays the blues almost every night on his guitar, which is decorating. You can't even see it. What happened to it? I brought the blues guitar for decoration, and it seems to be. Oh, there it is.
Yes.
Ta-da! There's the blues guitar I listen to every night. And so it was disappointing on that level. But it's
Did
not
you see this movie as a
I've ever
kid?
seen.
Did you see this movie as a kid, Heather?
Yeah, I did. I forgot about it. I totally forgot about it, and I didn't think I had. And then I'm watching it. Oh yeah, I saw this movie.
This was one of those movies that played on a loop on HBO when I was a kid.
Did you really?
And of course I was like, oh my God, that's Steve Vai. That's Steve Vai.
We
Right?
didn't even talk about that scene.
Yeah, and so I will admit that I also have deep history with this film because I always wanted, I'm really just a failed musician, turned into a writer because I have no musical ability. So, that's what I always wanted to be. So this movie resonates with my 14-year-old self pretty hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Heather, I can see where you're coming from on that aspect too, more so because now I can't fully sit through a symphony, without analyzing it since I wrote so many papers on them. But yeah, I think this would have been very a sort of a movie that would have probably done well shown in one of those classes that I took, and could have related more to those populations. Rather than solely, I think now though, Jason, I can relate to you with that though, because not necessarily failed, but the amount that I'm using my music degree is for Victorian seance right now. But I think that's where I can relate to the occult side of it more. But yeah, coming from the musical headspace of it, I guess that's where I'm like, ooh, sprinklings of magic, which I appreciate, like you said, Jason, that we're not, we're showing it in a positive light at all,
I just thought the film.
Go ahead, Richard. Well.
I thought the film was incredibly. You don't have to be the gentleman psychic to predict it. It's so. Oh, there's a white kid who's good to this old black man, but only because he thinks that he's this connected to Robert Johnson. And of course they're going to leave New York and they're going to go on a journey. Of course there's going to be a competition. Of course he's going to win. It was to me, the film was akin to, I have a black friend. That is how I view this film. I have a black friend, and the music was good, but it was not in depth enough. It didn't delve into the magic. It didn't delve into the history. It didn't delve into why the blues are so culturally significant. And can a person who is not a person of color play blues? We could all get into the blues. Absolutely. But I think for this genre, it would have been so much better had he been a black kid from New York instead of Ralph Macchio.
I mean, I was surprised, when he meets Willie Brown and he's like, "Are you Blind Dog?" And then Willie Brown's like, "No." And then later he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm Blind Dog." And I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming at all. I just can't believe this guy lied to Ralph Macchio right now. I mean, and the whole movie is like that. When Jamie Gertz shows up, I'm like, there's no way she's going to hook up with Ralph Macchio's character. And then they're in the hayloft. I mean, who saw that coming? I mean, nobody.
Mm-mm.
I'm just shocked. And then they win that final guitar battle?
Against another
Whoa.
white guy. Against another white guy.
That's problematic right there. Though, I mean, I understand why they chose like a hairband looking guy given the time of the film.
86.
Yeah, that's actually, if you do research on this film, that's the scene that everybody loves, is the guitar battle. The rest of it nobody talks about. So it's got that going for it, I guess, is the epic guitar battle at the end, which
that's where the devil
actually is interesting to
went down
watch.
Georgia.
But yeah, it is.
Quite,
it totally
yeah.
is. It's like
But not
the devil
fully,
went down
no.
to Georgia, played out. It's like
Yep.
they said, okay, what can we add into this? There's that song. Let's reenact that. So it's pretty much what you get is the devil went down to
Mississippi. Yeah.
Mhm,
I have
mhm.
I have to say off content, but not off content. I did a movie years ago. It was a documentary. It's called "Sell Your Soul to Satan," and it was a documentary about who was willing to sell their soul to the devil in change for fame or fortune. Over 500 people came to the audition. The guy who got picked out was a white kid, Kai Blackwood, from a pseudo popular band called Tokyo Death Squad at the time. The whole thing, him drawing his blood, real parchment, goatskin parchment, everything. He went through with working with a Satanist, working a demonologist, working with all this stuff. And I was doing seances for it and trying to talk to everybody who supposedly sold their soul to the devil, from Solomon to everybody to Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson did not show up in the film. I'm just saying, he did not show up in the film.
Weak sauce.
Yeah, it sucks. But we went through the ritual, and just really quick, it was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. We drove way out into the desert. We were like probably a grain silo, a perfect circle, but we did the full moon from here to here. You had to climb into it. There was no doors. And the stuff that happened as he was getting ready to make, I mean, a lot of blood. He wasn't doing, let's do it. It sounded like World War planes coming, all the protection candles started going out except for one, and that was the one of the one cameraman whose wife was this born again Christian who was in the limo and wouldn't get out of the limo. It's like we had a he smashed the mirror at the last minute, and he didn't do it, and he wasn't going to do it because the girl who was setting the rope said don't do it no matter what. So he's not that big and famous now. But the trippiest thing was, just to tell you, he had written this whole like a legal, wrote it out. I sell my soul to say da 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 da. If we said burn it up, it wouldn't burn, you guys. We had put a whole bottle of lighter fluid on it. It wouldn't burn. Threw it in the corner. We thought, maybe it burned. Afterwards, we're cleaning up. And they went, it went from a 8.5, 11 to like the size of this paper. On one side was all charred. It looked like 4 limbs coming out. The other side was beige as my skin, and it's still perfectly red. I, Kai Blackwood, sell my soul. It wouldn't burn. That was like,
give the devil his due.
Let's watch this documentary one of these days.
Add that to the list.
It's
I want to watch this.
The guy who made it good. And then it was bought by somebody who tried to sensationalize it and turn into something else. So it isn't good, but we watch a lot of not good movies.
I was about to say though, Patty, that's like full circle from summoning up old Hollywood celebrities at 7.
Exactly. But so he's like, looking at this thing. What do I do with it? And the cultist girl's like, keep it safe. Yeah, it would not.
I miss that 12-inch cauldron. As you know, I have much experience selling my soul in many traditions.
Yeah.
Many a piece of paper that's burned like that. Very interesting.
We are getting close on time, so I think what we have to do, and this is going to be oh no. Do we do the minute? No, we vote before we do the minute. We do.
Yes, but I also wrote down some quotes, and Courtney's not here.
I wrote too. Go do with quotes.
Yeah, so there are a lot of them I can't say exactly as they were in the film. I'm going to use the word cat for one of these that is actually in reference to a body part. So when we meet Willie Brown, he says, "You don't blow no harp, you don't get no cat," which I thought was worth writing down. He also says to Eugene, "Long Island, the famous breeding ground for bluesmen," which is hilarious.
That was the best quote. That was the best quote.
Yeah. Just one more white boy ripping off our music, which I liked. Willie also says, "I've been married 4 times, wore all of them out." And then the girl character, who we really haven't talked about because she just kind of comes into the movie and then runs away pretty quickly. She goes, "I don't see too many signs of puberty on you, boy," which I thought was really funny. And "Ain't so blind, you can't see my blind ass going out the window." So in honor of Courtney Buckley, those are some quotes.
Yay, Courtney! Yay!
Jason, earlier didn't you? There was one moment that I kind of laughed at. Didn't you earlier mention that they were kind of like scrounging? They were talking about not having enough money for something, especially. I thought it was kind of funny when Ralph's character went up to the bar and the shot was $1, and I said, "In what world?" Even for '86, like, come on.
Well, they are in Mississippi.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And it is 1986.
It's probably moonshine made in the still in the back or in a
Probably.
bathtub. Yeah.
Wow. All right. On that note, it is time to wands up, wands down.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm gonna do it.
No, you're not doing a wand, Heather.
No, I'm not doing a wand. Hold on. I have to get it out. Wands, guitar down.
Guitar down. That is the cutest thing. That makes your vote worth 2 just because it's guitar.
It's a vote with strings attached.
It does.
That is so cute. It's like just the perfect size for Black Phillip.
It is. That's his guitar. Look at him go. He's gonna
Yeah.
play some-
Wands up, baby.
Go
Wands
blue.
up, horns up.
Okay.
Woo!
All right. I am wands up. You are guitars down. 2 3/4 and Richard-Lael's down. So we are a mixed crowd today. Love you too, Tiffany. Wands up, wands up. We've got some wands up in the chat room. You guys vote. That is an amazing guitar. Yes, it is. So she gets 2 votes. Down, down. Wands up, wands up. So horns up. We got horns up. We got wands up. So you guys who haven't watched it, does that make you want to go watch it now? I would. All right. So, Jason.
All right, here we go. Go back in time to an age where bluesmen recorded on acoustic guitars in dusty old studios, and enterprising young students used microfiche to look at last week's newspaper. It's 1986. 6's wackiest buddy comedy, Crossroads. And no, not the Britney Spears movie Crossroads. How old do you think Britney is? Heck, how old do you think I am? Jeez. Meet Eugene Lightning Boy Martone, a classical guitar student at Juilliard in New York City, even though Juilliard didn't teach classical guitar in 1986. Ignore that part of the story, though, because what's really important is that Lightning Boy loves the blues. He doesn't feel the blues like a man from the Mississippi Delta, but he loves them all the same. And luckily for the plot of this movie, he doesn't have any parents watching over him. Lightning Boy then meets Willie Blind Dog Brown, an old bluesman incarcerated for murder at a minimum security hospital. Yep, one of the good guys in this story is a murderer, or at least an attempted murderer. Yay, Hollywood. Eugene then breaks Willie out of jail by having him walk down some stairs. That's pretty much it, and then the plot point is lost. Eugene helped a murderer escape from jail. Eugene's life is probably over, but the film doesn't address that at all. Nope, Eugene is just going to play the blues forever now, even though it's obvious to anyone who has really played guitar for more than 2 weeks that Ralph Macchio's Eugene barely knows how to play a guitar. Speaking of Ralph Macchio, which Heather has done, you could probably easily call this movie The Guitar Kid. During the big guitar showdown at the end of the movie, I expected to hear the devil start yelling, "Sweep the guitar strap!" And just like in the Karate Kid movies, Macchio's girlfriend shows up and then just disappears, much the way this movie did when it hit theaters. It showed up for a week and then was like, "I'm leaving, bye," never to be heard from again until this episode of The Witches Movie Coven.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
So, still like it though.
No, that's okay. I have my guilty pleasures. I have a few
Yeah.
very bad movies that I love and I will watch over and over. We will
Yeah.
probably never see them on this movie coven, but they exist.
In
So
10 years, we're going to be out of movies and have no choice. We're going to
Okay, here we go.
And speaking of movies, what are we doing next week?
We are doing I Married a Witch for Valentine's Day.
Oh, perfect. So everybody, I Married a Witch.
It's the story of me and Ari. How wonderful.
There you go.
And don't forget your merch. You can get your merch. Everybody go to mysterycontrol.com. I can't read it though, so I can't see what.
Would
thou like to play music deliciously?
Perfect.
Can I jump in and plug a Crossroads book in case anyone's interested in learning more about the devil and the Crossroads? We have at Llewellyn, I worked on the book myself. It's called Magic at the Crossroads, and Richard-Lael did the foreword for it. So Richard-Lael's led it. It's written by Kate Froiler, and it is absolutely fascinating. It's got some workings in it if you're interested in working with the devil as part of your practice, or just you want to learn about the difference between the stories of the devil, the folkloric devil, the Satan version of him, and the various forms that he's taken
It's
and
so
worship.
good.
It is so good, isn't it?
So good.
It's brilliant.
It's so good.
Yeah. So just as a side note about this particular movie, if you're interested more about learning about the lore, and it's coming out in August, it's already up for pre-sale. It's called Magic at the Crossroads.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're good. Anybody have anything coming up that they want to tell everybody about, where they can see you, where they can find you?
I have my lunch coming up after watching tonight's movie, but that's
You guys harsh.
Well, I guess since I'm up there, yeah. So you can find me at University Magicus. I am there. I'm here at the Gentleman Psychic. That's anywhere online. If you message me on Instagram or on Facebook, it's better because there's too many things out there, and none of them are me. Also, I have 200,000 emails sitting in my Crossroads. I mean, my inbox. It's the Crossroads that I never cross. Anyway, I'm everywhere. The Gentleman Psychic.
Thank you very much, Heather.
I am going to be at Paginicon Travel Wise. That's in Minneapolis in March and end of March, mid-March, and then Mystic South in Atlanta. And I urge everybody to go. We have tickets are on sale, and the applications are open for presenting there. And of course, the cheaper tickets are still on sale. That's in Atlanta in July. I'll be there, and I'll be at Charles in September. But we can talk about that as that gets closer. So far, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Jason.
In 2 weeks, I will be in Michigan for Convocation, one of the largest pagan gatherings in the Midwest. And I used to live in Michigan, so it's always like going home, and I cannot wait. It's a new location for them. I'll also be at Pagonicon, which is great. The festival I was going to go to in Florida got canceled over the weekend, so disregard this. And I will be at Sacred Space in Baltimore, Maryland, coming up. The sad part about the Convocation trip is I will be traveling during our show, so I'm going to miss a show. So, but I might record the minute just to be nice.
I think you should.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be good because we can't live without it anymore. And Matthew, beautiful job joining us.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Where they can find you.
So I am always doing readings here in Salem, both psychic mediumship and various other things through pentagramsalem.com. And right now I am crocheting through a bunch of Beltane Lily of the Valley charms, getting them out, and bluebells to come. I'm currently 100 pages into my second occult poetry book, so that is rolling and amidst all the crazy, and we'll see how that goes. Many a late night, and then I will be visiting the LA area next week. So Patti, I will be gracing your presence for the Los Angeles Vampire Ball, which I am very excited to sort of experience for my first time, and excited to get hopefully get a stone in my ankh from our lovely producer.
I know. I don't have a stone in my unk. I've been doing this for not a decade.
I know, right?
But we will. That is awesome. So, all right, thank you, and you guys like him, follow him. I've got Vampire Ball next week, so you guys join us. Come to LA and join us, and then right after that, I'm going to be in Vegas doing a whole little witchy weekend, the first weekend in March. Right in Las Vegas that first weekend, and then I'm going to be in Arizona, Old Globe Paracon. And then we're going to Romania. So put on your fangs and join Father Sebastian and myself in Romania. Tons of stuff. I just booked tons of stuff. So go to my website, Patti Negri, just like Richard-Lael, probably just like Matthew, probably all of us. We have imposters out there. So find us legitimately. And this is us. This is us. So it is 7:00. Do we cackle? Do we do the blues?
Let us cackle.
Yeah, let's not do the blues. That's going to be terrible. We will cackle.
As compared to our fabulous cackle. 1, 2, 3.